We've cruised with over 30 different cruise lines, clocked up more than 100 sailings between us, and until now had never set foot on a Carnival ship. There's a reason for that. Carnival has always seemed a bit too brash, too garish, too chaotic. But in the spirit of fairness, and in our constant endeavour to experience every corner of the cruise industry, we decided it was time to give Carnival a try. So we booked a sailing on Carnival Miracle, a mid-sized Spirit-class ship, fresh out of a reported extensive refit. We were greeted by a 3-hour embarkation ordeal in Lisbon, the dirtiest cabin we've ever encountered, and an onboard experience that's left us questioning whether Carnival standards are anywhere near acceptable in 2025. This review isn't about snobbery or preference, it's about expectations versus reality. We came with an open mind. What we found was quite frankly shocking and totally bizarre. Typically, boarding a cruise ship is a smooth and a well-organised process. Even on the busiest of days, it rarely takes more than 15 to 30 minutes from terminal to the gangway. So when we found ourselves trapped in a queue for 3 hours outside the terminal in Lisbon, with little shade, no updates, no access to water, or the toilets without losing your place in the queue, and no explanation, our patience quickly began to wear pretty thin. What made matters worse was Carnival's total lack of communication. There was no update by message or email to pre-warn passengers that there was going to be a delay at the terminal, no information about the cause of the delay, and most frustratingly of all, not even a basic apology. Staff appeared overwhelmed and disinterested, and the absence of any visible management presence only added to the chaos and passengers' frustration. After a very long day of travelling, standing for hours in a warm, disorganised queue after hours of travelling from the UK, this is not how a cruise should begin. It set the tone for what would become a deeply disappointing experience aboard Carnival Miracle. And it's frankly unacceptable that a cruise line of this size and reputation didn't do more to manage the situation or address the impact it had on passengers. When you hear them banging on about choose fun, they never show you scenes like this, do they? Our cabin on this cruise was 5165, a partially obstructed balcony cabin located on deck 5. It's positioned just above the lifeboats, which limits the view somewhat, but this was the least of our worries when we arrived here. Put yourself in our shoes. We'd been travelling for around 9 hours, and then we had to endure a 3-hour embarkation. All we wanted was a clean and comfortable cabin to relax and unwind. But what we were actually greeted with was a scene we still can't quite believe. This was, without doubt, the dirtiest cruise ship cabin we've ever stayed in. Pubic hairs on the bedside table and the bed, mould and bacteria growing in the soap dish in the shower, dried urine and faeces under the toilet seat, the most stained toilet seat we've ever seen on a cruise ship, food smudged into the plug sockets, a stained pillow. Honestly, the list goes on and on. This cabin felt like it hadn't been cleaned in months. Now, it's worth noting that Carnival Miracle has just supposedly undergone an extensive refit in Cadiz. At this point, I think it's fair to say they didn't touch the cabins at all. From the dated furnishings to the grimy bathroom, everything about this cabin screams neglect. When we raised the issue with housekeeping, initially we were offered 2 options, either a deep clean of the same cabin or a move to an identical one. We opted for the deep clean, and credit where it's due, the team came very quickly to deal with it. They replaced the knackered lampshades, they kindly removed the rogue hairball from the bedside unit, scrubbed the bathroom. For one night, it made the cabin just about livable. But the room still smells unclean. The bathroom doesn't feel hygienic, and the atmosphere overall is of wear and neglect. This cabin falls far short of the standard we're used to at home, let alone a holiday we've paid a significant amount of money for. And that surely is the bare minimum any cruise guest should be able to expect, right? To those who kindly suggested on Facebook that we're expecting too much and we should have just put this all aside and enjoy our holiday, no, When Carnival start featuring cabins like this in their brochures and their advertising, we'll happily consider adjusting our expectations. To those that kindly said, she's an old ship and we're the ones in the wrong, we're expecting perfection. The age of the ship has nothing to do with it. We were on Marella Explorer a couple of weeks ago, a ship fast approaching 30 years of age, and it was immaculately clean. We were on Ambience in February, a ship that's 34 years old. And my God, we haven't exactly praised those cabins, but at least they were clean. Sadly, we can't even praise the cabin's practicality. There's an aging TV with a handful of news channels and little else. Storage is just about adequate in the main room, but the bathroom offers next to none. Just a few open shelves and no enclosed space for toiletries. The plug socket situation is dire, with only 2 outlets in the entire cabin, 1 American and 1 European. USB ports? Forget it. Frankly, the best thing about this cabin is the moment you leave it. At no point when booking this cruise were we advised that the cabin would come with a complimentary wig by the bed. Until that happens, we and any other paying guest that ever experiences failings such as these has every right to throw a tantrum, and I'm so glad that we did. Our case had been escalated to the hotel director on board, and when he saw the condition and the filth in this cabin, he was utterly ashamed and embarrassed. He told us that in more than 40 years working at sea, he had never seen a cabin so dirty and neglected. He'd heard that we'd spoke to guest services and were inquiring about flying home from the next port, and he couldn't have done more to convince us to change our minds and stay. He said, "Look, I know you're probably never going to cruise with Carnival again, but I'm going to do everything I can to show you how very sorry we and Carnival are." He immediately moved us to an ocean suite, issued a full refund and covered the cost of a tour excursion to Paris when the ship was docked in Le Havre. We might not be able to speak very highly about the ship and the type of cruising experience Carnival offer, but that level of customer care they showed in this situation has been nothing short of exceptional.
Get 50% off your first order when you subscribe to Sail Away magazine. Get the digital version for £3.95 and the printed edition for £6.95 every 2 months. Subscribe today at sailawaymagazine.com.
This is the Ocean Suite. Honestly, if we hadn't been upgraded, I don't think we'd have lasted the full 7 nights on this cruise. The difference it has made to our experience on this cruise has been enormous. Not just in comfort, but in being able to step back, breathe, and actually start enjoying parts of this ship. Would we have paid for it ourselves? Probably not. At least not this time. But if we were to come back on Carnival Miracle, and yes, I'll admit that is still a bit of a long shot, this is the grade of accommodation we'd choose. Yes, it's a little dated. Yes, it lacks some of the polish and the perks that you'd find in suites on lines like Royal Caribbean, Princess, and even P&O. But when you consider the price point, it becomes a far more attractive proposition. On average, an ocean suite on Carnival Miracle will set you back around £2,000 per person for a 7-night cruise in the Caribbean. And that price includes your flights and a hotel stay in Miami. From a practicality standpoint, the suite is good. Ocean suites like this one measure 275 square feet, which is decent when you consider that entry-level suites on cruise ships range from 200 to 300 square feet. You've got 2 US sockets, 2 European sockets, and impressively 8 USB-A ports integrated into the lamps, including by the bed. Storage is abundant, with 2 good-sized wardrobes, plenty of drawers, cupboards and shelves throughout the living area. Even the bathroom is well thought out, with ample shelving and a few cupboards for toiletries. The bathroom itself is large and far more pleasant than the bright blue decor found in the other cabin grades. There's a shaver socket and you're treated to luxury Elemis toiletries. A nice touch, just for a moment, almost tricks you into thinking you're on a more premium line like Holland America. Something that does need pointing out though is the water in these cabins. I have never seen such discoloured water from the taps, a sign that the ship's pipes are dirty or the tanks themselves are in need of a good clean. When we've said in podcast episodes about why you should never drink water from the taps on cruise ships, and people try and tell us that you can, Can and should are two different things. I can drive my car 120 miles per hour on the motorway, but it doesn't mean that I should. Back in the main living area, the bed is far more comfortable than what we had in the original balcony stateroom, thanks to a pillow mattress topper and upgraded pillows. Where the suite falls short is in the perks, or lack thereof. This is the only suite we've ever stayed in where there's no coffee machine. You don't get a butler. There's no access to a private sun deck, no suite exclusive restaurant. It's very much a no-frills suite experience. And while the space itself is decent, the experience isn't elevated in the way you might be used to. You do get a few nice touches: a complimentary bag of laundry per person each cruise, bathrobes, priority dinner reservations for the main dining room and speciality restaurants, 2 large bottles of water, and priority embarkation and disembarkation. That said, it's worth pointing out that priority embarkation was suspended in Lisbon during the chaos we experienced, and if we'd actually paid for this suite and been denied that perk, we'd have been pretty annoyed. The television is another letdown. It's old, basic, and not interactive. Unlike newer Carnival ships, there's no on-demand content, no account management, and certainly no modern streaming capabilities. To be honest though, something which does bother us in this suite is the random cuck chair in the corner. This suite is far too small for it, and most of the time in here has been spent moving it about all over the place. All things considered, yes, we believe an ocean suite offers good value for money. You're not getting a luxury suite experience, but you are getting a more spacious, comfortable and well-equipped environment than the standard cabins on here. And with how bad the other cabin grades are on here, we would honestly recommend it. You really have to see Carnival Miracle with your own eyes to believe it. In all the ships we've ever sailed on, from the ultra-modern to the classically elegant, we have never encountered anything quite like this. And honestly, it's weirdly impressive. The sheer effort and thought that must have gone into making this the most hideous ship we've ever set foot on is remarkable. If Liberace went out on the Raz and was then asked to design a cruise ship while still knocking back the Zambuca shots, this is almost certainly what he'd come up with. It's loud, it's brash, and it's utterly bonkers. Italian Renaissance paintings and naked statues pop up just about everywhere, often in poses that feel more carry-on than Carnival. Every corridor, lounge and venue seems to be at war with itself. Mismatched materials, different shapes. It's just all too much. They say there are 2 million colours in existence. I wouldn't mind betting that every single one of them has been used somewhere on this ship. This is the last place you would want to be if you had a migraine. If the decor wasn't confusing enough, the layout of Carnival Miracle only adds to the madness of it all. The various lounges and venues seem to appear out of nowhere, while corridors twist and turn in ways that make no logical sense. Factor in the drinks package and a cocktail or two, and it's less of a leisurely stroll from the theatre and more of an all-out endurance test. Usually after a day or two on board, we've got our bearings and can navigate a ship with ease. But after nearly a full week on this cruise, we're still getting lost. Part of the problem is the lack of visual cues. Most ships have distinct carpet patterns or colours in the lift lobbies and stairwells to help you work out where you are on the ship. Not here. It's the same carpet, the same hideous artwork, the same flashing lights and bums and boobs just about everywhere, and very few windows, so you can't even glance outside to figure out whether you're at the front or the back of the ship. Paired with the already overwhelming decor, it's genuinely disorientating. Beyond appearances, there's one glaring design flaw in Carnival Miracle's design that genuinely impacts the onboard experience: the placement of the casino and the smoking policy in it. The casino is located near the bottom of the ship's central atrium, which itself spans from decks 2 all the way up to deck 10. That means all the smoke in the casino has direct channel straight up through the centre of the ship, making much of Carnival Miracle smell like a stale ashtray most of the time. We have never been on a ship where cigarette smoke has been so constant and overpowering. You catch it in the lift lobbies, you smell it walking past the atrium bar, you smell it during daytime activities, well, the ones that are on, We could even smell it when dining in Nick and Nora's steakhouse on Deck 10. Now, we understand that casinos are a revenue generator and smoking allowances are part of that culture in the US. But placing the casino directly beneath the ship's main architectural feature and allowing smoke to funnel through every deck is an oversight we're surprised that Carnival hasn't addressed.
Main dining aboard Carnival Miracle takes place here in the Bacchus dining room, and it's definitely one of the most distinctive dining venues we've ever stepped into. Laminated grapes stuck to every available surface, ugly statues peering out from the corners, and a colourful scheme that looks like it was chosen during a wine-fueled design session. It's not elegant, it's not refined, but it's certainly memorable. There are 2 fixed dining times, the first sitting at 5:15 and the second sitting at 8:15. For this sailing, we were given my time dining. The virtual queue systems often feel more hassle than it's worth. That said, we were pleasantly surprised how easy it was to use for the Carnival Hub app. Most evenings we were seated within 15 to 20 minutes of checking in. Where the Bacchus dining room really stands out though is the atmosphere. It's loud, it's lively, unapologetically fun. Each night, the waitstaff break into song and dance routines that feel less cruise dining, more cruise cabaret, and guests absolutely love it. There's a sense of energy and theatre here that whether you love it or hate it, it is undoubtedly Carnival. When it comes to the food itself, we'll be honest, it has really surprised us. We can't think of the last time we sailed on a ship where we've enjoyed pretty much everything we've eaten. Just to be clear, we didn't expect luxurious ingredients or gourmet presentation. The quality of the ingredients used is clearly a step down from what many lines used to offer, but that's not unique to Carnival. But from our experience, the variety and quality of the dishes we've eaten in here have been much better than the dining rooms on Royal Caribbean ships, P&O and even Princess. The menus change every night with a decent selection of appetizers, mains and desserts on offer. There's a consistent effort to cater to different tastes and there's always a handful of classics available.
Your dream cruise, just a click away. From luxury liners to no-fi cruises, supercruises.com makes booking simple and stress-free. Book now at supercruises.com and set sail on the trip of a lifetime. Get up to 10% off when using the code SAILAWAY10. Terms and conditions apply.
Another thing that has really stood out to us and deserves praise is how Carnival handles dietary requirements. Guests who are gluten intolerant or following special diets are provided with a separate menu each mealtime. That's rare these days, and it's something a lot of other cruise lines could learn from. We've seen too many lines treat dietary requirements as an afterthought, forcing guests to pre-order a day in advance or make do with vague adaptations of standard dishes. Carnival's approach is refreshingly simple and makes you feel included. We never thought we'd come on a Carnival ship and be so impressed by the main dining. The last time we sailed on a ship where we were so impressed by what we'd eaten in the main dining over the course of an entire cruise was probably Azamara, and that is real praise.
By now, you've probably seen it enough to know that Carnival doesn't do subtle, especially on this ship, and that applies to the buffet too. Horatios is the buffet menu aboard Carnival Miracle, and there's absolutely no chance you'll forget its name with what feels like hundreds of Horatio Nelsons plastered across the bulkheads and pillars, all watching intently as you spoon scrambled egg onto your plate. As for the buffet itself, it's fine. We've had better, and we've certainly had a lot worse. If you're after a truly dismal buffet experience, go and click the banner in the top right hand corner now. This one sits comfortably in the middle in the cruise buffet scale in our opinion. The variety on offer changes daily and covers all the usual basics: cooked breakfast items, salads, burgers, grilled cheese sandwiches, Asian cuisine, a carvery and desserts. Tucked within Horatio's is Pizza Pirate, which is also included in your cruise fare. It's open 24 hours a day and it's actually pretty good. The only real drawback is the wait, particularly at lunchtime on a sea day. Located by the midship by the Ulysses pool, you'll find the 2 additional casual dining venues included in your cruise fare. The first is Guy's Burger Joint. This place is widely popular and is praised highly amongst avid cruisers as the best burger at sea. Judged by the queues and the familiar faces that seem to visit here most days, it clearly hits a spot for a lot of people. Unfortunately, we're going to have to take their word for it, as there are no vegetarian options available here whatsoever. To be fair, you can get a veggie burger at the deli counter in Horatio's, where they also serve grilled cheese sandwiches, and to give credit where credit is due, the veggie burger there is actually really good, especially considering it's included in the fare.
On the opposite side of the pool deck, you'll find Blue Iguana, Carnival's casual Mexican venue serving tacos and burritos from lunch until 6 p.m. Again, the food looks great. We've seen plenty of people raving about it, and it's got that fresh, fast, casual vibe that works really well poolside. But once again, with the exception of a plain vegetable and rice burrito, there are no vegetarian options here, no plant-based protein anyway. And this is where things start to feel a bit contradictory. Downstairs in the main dining room, Carnival goes out of its way to provide entire menus for gluten-free, vegan and other dietary needs, a rare and commendable approach that deserves real praise. But up here, at these well-loved venues on the pool deck, it's like dietary requirements don't exist. Why make the effort in one area of the ship only to completely ignore it in another?
For the ship the size of Carnival Miracle, and knowing what Carnival is normally like when it comes to squeezing every last penny out of passengers, we were really surprised by how few specialty dining options are available on board. You'd expect to see a couple of additional venues for variety, but the only true specialty restaurants is Nick and Nora's Steakhouse. We've dined in our fair share of cruise ship steakhouses over the years, from Cunaan's Veranda to Princess's Crown Grill and beyond, so we had plenty of reference points going in. And honestly, Nick and Nora's sits somewhere in the middle. Not bad, not amazing, just a solid, if slightly uninspired experience. If we were scoring out of 10, we'd probably give it a rather reasonable 7. Starting with the bread, it was perfectly fine, but when you think of the incredible bread you're served in the Veranda on Cunard chips, it's clear that this isn't in the same league. However, the lobster bisque we had as a starter was a real highlight. Creamy, rich, perfectly balanced, genuinely the best lobster bisque we've ever had in our lives, and easy a 10 out of 10. For the mains, we both had the boiled lobster tails, which again was nice. The texture was good, the flavour was fine, but it was rather forgettable overall. The accompanying sides fell into the same category. Adequate, but nothing you'd remember a few days later. At $52 per person, Nick and Nora's is one of the more expensive steakhouses we've come across at sea, and we do think it is a tad overpriced. And judging by how quiet the restaurant was when we dined, and the fact that there was availability every night despite the sailing being full, it seems that we're not the only ones who feel that way. Tucked away within Horatio's buffet, you'll find Bonsai Sushi, Carnival Miracle's second specialty dining venue. And we'll be up front, we didn't eat here. Why? Because the menu was so underwhelming that we simply couldn't justify it. We've seen specialty sushi restaurants on many ships, and while they vary in price and style, most at least make an effort to feel like a destination, like an escape from the hustle and bustle of the main dining areas. Bonsai Sushi doesn't offer that. It's plonked right in the middle of the buffet, surrounded by the constant clatter of trays, the noise of guests coming and going, and the ever-present sight of uncleared tables. The pricing is a la carte, which we don't mind in principle, but the options are incredibly limited. Sashimi costs around $2.50 per piece, and a simple California roll comes in at $9. For that kind of money, we'd expect more of a thoroughly curated menu, a wider selection, and crucially, a more pleasant environment to enjoy it in. Alongside Bonsai Sushi is Seafood Corner, another chargeable dining option offering a small menu of fried and grilled seafood dishes for dinner. Unlike Bonsai, we did give this one a try. Let's start with the food. It was actually quite good. The lobster roll, priced at $16, was generous and well seasoned, and the fish and chips at $8 was crispy, hot and satisfying. It's a no-fuss, quick service offering that delivers exactly what it promises. But we maintain the atmosphere isn't what you want when you're paying extra for food. It's noisy, tables around you often haven't been cleared, and there's no real sense of separation between the premium offerings and the free-for-all chaos of the buffet.
Of all the speciality offerings aboard Carnival Miracle, there is one that truly caught our eye. The Thing 1 and Thing 2 birthday breakfast. Yes, that's really what it's called. It's a Dr. Seuss themed experience that promises a fun start to your morning, and in all the cruises we've done, we've never come across anything quite like it. While it's technically marketed as being for all ages, make no mistake, this is absolutely geared towards children. That said, we went along anyway, in the name of research and curiosity, and we're kind of glad that we did. Priced at $15 per person, it's not outrageous, and we'd say the cost is just about justified by the experience. The decor is vibrant, the characters pop in for appearances, and everything from the table settings to the menu is themed with that signature Dr. Seuss flair.
As for the food, The dishes were certainly colourful and definitely more show than flavour. Nothing we ate here was particularly better than the standard breakfast options available elsewhere on the ship, and in most cases it was exactly the same food, just with a bit of food colouring and a fancier name, but that's not really the point. It was a fun alternative way to start the day, and if you're sailing with kids, it really is a must try.
For a cruise line that bills itself as the fun ships, we were genuinely surprised, and not in a good way, by how little there is to do during the day aboard Carnival Miracle. Compared to the likes of Royal Caribbean, P&O and even Marella, Carnival's daytime programme feels incredibly thin. On port days in particular, the ship feels like it powers down entirely. Lounges are empty, bars are closed, many restaurants are inactive, and the activity schedule is almost non-existent. If you're not heading ashore or happy to lounge by the pool all day, you're going to struggle to find much else to occupy your time. It's a real contrast to lines like Marella, where you'll always find quizzes, crafts classes, games, films and interactive events taking place, even when docked. And then there's Royal Caribbean, which is another league altogether. Yes, Royal Caribbean do cost more, but you genuinely feel like you're getting so much more for your money from an entertainment perspective. From surf simulators and skydiving tunnels to bumper cars, live music, enrichment talks and packed daily programmes, there's always something happening. By comparison, Carnival Miracle can feel surprisingly empty and, dare we say, boring.
That said, if you're lucky with the weather, the ship's free pools and hot tubs will keep many guests happy. They're on the smaller side, but they're clean, well maintained and inviting. For adults seeking a quieter retreat, the Serenity Pool at the aft is reserved for guests aged 21 and over. It offers fantastic wake views, cushion lounges and a more relaxed vibe than the three louder main pool areas. One of the few areas that really delivers a bit of calm, especially on sea days and all afternoons when passengers are returning back on board. There's also a new big screen by the Ulysses Pool, which shows live sports and movies as advertised in the daily programme.
But without question, the busiest venue on the entire ship is the casino. On sea days, it's shoulder to shoulder in there, and you'll be lucky to find a spare seat. No wonder the ship smells so smoky. Most of the time it's like an industrial flue. We've been on much smaller ships where there is so much more to do. This ship would feel so much better in the day if they just opened up more of the bars and laid on some live music in them and had some quizzes taking place by the pool. This ship is desperate for more fun, especially during the day.
Evenings aboard Carnival Miracle definitely have more life than the daytime. I'm in the Mad Hatter's Ball Lounge, where they hold comedy shows each evening. Although it isn't our idea of funny, American humour just goes way over our heads. It's a pity, this lounge really isn't utilised more during the day. Most daytimes, it's just empty, like many other lounges on board. The main theatre shows are about what we've come to expect from many mainstream cruise lines. They're watchable, entertaining in places, but not quite polished enough to be memorable. Compared to the likes of Royal Caribbean, with their full-scale Broadway productions, stunt shows and high-tech staging, the offerings on here feel a bit amateurish at times, more holiday camp than headline acts. One of our favourite spots in the evening was the Metropolis Lobby Bar, located in the heart of the ship. It features rotating music acts, and whether it's acoustic acts, jazz or pop covers, there's always something going on to give that ship a bit of atmosphere. That said, not all the evening's offerings hit the right note. One night in the Phantom Theatre, the headline act was Deal or No Deal, but to actually participate you had to buy tickets. You could watch for free, but it felt like sitting through a game of bingo without a card. Mildly entertaining for a few minutes, but hardly worth being billed as the night's main entertainment.
To be blunt, charging for access to the evening's primary entertainment in the theatre felt a bit like an Americanised money grab. So while we'll acknowledge that evenings on board are better than the daytime, we still don't think there's enough happening overall. It's certainly one of the quieter ships we've been on in terms of overall entertainment. If drinking and gambling aren't your thing, there's a chance you might find yourself twiddling your thumbs after dinner. Between the small number of entertainment venues and the modest production schedule, Carnival Miracle just doesn't deliver the same vibrancy as other ships we've sailed on. And that has really surprised us, as we thought that entertainment was where Carnival was going to excel.
Overall, service aboard Carnival Miracle has been friendly and mostly efficient. The restaurant teams both in the main dining room and the specialty venues have consistently delivered good service with a smile. Cabin stewards have been pleasant and attentive, and you can tell that many crew are trying their absolute best. But here's the thing, for the amount we're being charged in gratuities, pleasant isn't quite adequate.
Let's break it down. We're charged an 18% gratuity on every single purchase, even when we've gone to the bar ourselves and carried the drink back to our table without any help. Add to that the $16 per person per day automatic service charge slapped onto our onboard account, and suddenly we're shelling out a small fortune just to be served. And yet, service, especially at the bars, has been flat most of the time. We have actually only been offered a drink twice. Every other time, we have had to go and queue at the bar ourselves, and we're still charged the 18% for the privilege. It's worth pointing out that this wasn't the case in the casino, where drinks seem to appear out of nowhere the moment a passenger inserts their cruise card into the slot machine. But what really shocked us, and we mean truly shocked us, passengers openly tipping crew in cash to skip queues and lines. It happened to us 3 times during this sailing. You get to the bar first, but along comes someone waving a $10 bill. The bartender takes one look at you, then serves them instead, as if you don't even exist. On one occasion, we even saw someone tip guest services cash to sort out a minor issue faster and secure their preferred disembarkation time. This isn't about recognising great service. This is about passengers buying priority at the expense of others. But this culture of enforced gratuities, hidden service charges, is completely mad, and we absolutely hate it. You shouldn't have to bribe your way to the front of a queue, and you certainly shouldn't be penalised for not doing so. We've sailed with plenty of cruise lines over the years, and we can say with absolute confidence that the Wi-Fi aboard Carnival Miracle is some of the best we've ever had at sea. It's fast, stable, and genuinely reliable. We even managed to upload a YouTube video while on board, which is something we very rarely manage to do, even on much newer ships. That said, it's not the cheapest. Internet packages start at $22 per day for a single device, and that only gets you access to social media. If you want to browse the web, check emails or use WhatsApp, you'll need the value package, which costs $26 per day. For those needing full internet access with minimal restrictions, the premium package comes in at $28 per day, and that's the one we used throughout this cruise. Yes, it's a bit pricey, but it worked incredibly well and allowed us to stay fully connected throughout our cruise. If you know you'll need internet during your cruise, it's worth purchasing your package before you sail, as you can save around 15% by doing so. There's also an option to pay $75 per day for 4 devices on the premium plan, which is a great choice if you're travelling with family or friends and want to split the cost between you, but you'll need to do this before you board. As we mentioned earlier in this video, we were refunded the full cost of this cruise and upgraded to an ocean suite after the state of our original cabin was quite rightly deemed unacceptable by the hotel director. But if we'd stayed in the balcony cabin originally paid for and paid the full fare of around £1,100 per person, including flights, I'm not sure we'd have walked away feeling like we'd received good value for money. Yes, we knew Carnival Miracle was an older ship, but we never in a million years expected one of the world's largest cruise lines to allow its cabins to become so run down and neglected. Cleanliness issues aside, the furnishings are tired, the decor's dated, and everything feels long overdue for a refresh. Carnival talks a lot about fun, but it should really be putting a bit more focus on basic standards. Food in general was decent for what we paid. Not gourmet, but decent, and the variety in the main dining room menus was appreciated. But that's really where the positives end, because entertainment and daytime activities are very limited, and we can't remember the last time we felt quite so bored on a cruise. The ship just doesn't have the energy or the buzz we were expecting. The atmosphere is flat, and unless you're drinking or gambling, there's just not a lot going on. Now, of course, value for money is subjective, but for us personally, based on what this cruise would have cost had we not been upgraded and refunded, it just wasn't worth the money.
When it comes to extras, Carnival isn't exactly generous either. Specialty dining, shore excursions, Wi-Fi, and even the items sold in the shop are all expensive. American cruise lines do have a tendency to penny pinch their passengers, and it really shows here. It's frustrating, and it's something we have never experienced in the same way when sailing with British cruise lines. Drink packages are no exception. The Cheers package, which is Carnival's premium all-inclusive drinks package, will set you back around $83 per person per day, plus the mandatory 18% gratuity, of course. But the value doesn't quite stack up when you compare it to Princess or Holland America, who often throw in Wi-Fi, specialty dining, and shore excursion credits as part of their bundled packages for less money. And let's not forget, despite being sold as an all-inclusive, the Cheers package caps you at 15 alcoholic drinks per day. On top of that, the package only covers drinks priced under $20. If your drink costs you more than that, you'll only get a 25% discount, which feels a bit tight when you consider lines like Ambassador give you 50% credit towards any excluded drink from their packages. There's also no premium soft drinks package, which feels a real miss for non-drinkers or those who prefer a decent coffee over a cocktail. Carnival's only option is the Bottomless Bubbles package, priced at around $11 per person per day, which includes fizzy drinks and juice, and not much else. It doesn't cover bottled water, hot drinks, soft drinks, ordered food room service, or anything you buy at the gangway.
There have been flashes of what Carnival does well. The Wi-Fi was some of the best we've had at sea. The food, while not refined, was plentiful and varied. The ocean suite we were moved to was genuinely clean and comfortable. And the hotel director, Duncan, went above and beyond in a way that we won't forget. There's clearly a loyal audience who know exactly what they're signing up for when they book a Carnival cruise. We understand that. For the right kind of cruiser, this line offers affordability, informality, and a loud American energy. But this cruise left us feeling deflated. From the chaotic embarkation to the filthy cabin, from sticky tables and poor hygiene to limited entertainment and a culture of tipping that felt transactional rather than earned, we spent more time frustrated than we ever should whilst on a holiday. The ship didn't feel fun. It didn't feel relaxing. It actually felt really quite budget. We came in with open minds, but we're leaving with a clear answer. This brand, this ship, this style, it just isn't for us. And that's okay. Not every cruise line has to be, does it?